given y equals a sine of bx minus c. So a indicates our amplitude. B is related to our period with formula 2 pi over p. And C indicates our horizontal shift. And our D indicates our vertical shift. So amplitude, that means that indicates our, for example, we have a plane like this. The amplitude indicates how high or how low your graph will be. So given this is our starting point, for example, since it's a sine function, so it starts, let's say that D is equal to C, the horizontal shift is 0. So it starts here at 0. And D is the vertical shift, so it still starts here because the Y value is then 0. So horizontal shift, or the X value, is 0, and the vertical shift, or the Y value, is 0, so that starts at 0, 0. And then our period indicates a full cycle of our graph. So the full cycle of our graph is, let's say it ends right here at 2 pi over p. So this is the period and indicates our full cycle. So this is where our full cycle of this graph ends. So again, our amplitude indicates how high or how low. So let's say that this is our amplitude, and this is, yeah, distance from the center or the midline to the lowest point and to the highest point is A. So meaning the highest point is here, okay? But first, you need to identify the middle point in between uh, the starting and the ending point. So we know that it starts at 0 and it ends after one full cycle, which is at 2 pi over b. So in between that is this right here. And then this is where your graph um, will change direction. So an A indicates whether we go up first or we go down first. So since A here, let's say A is positive, so meaning we go up first to this um, middle point, midpoint of our center and our initial point. So connecting that, we'd get this graph right here, and then the midpoint between the midpoint right here and the and our last point, or at the end, the point at the end of our cycle is this point right here. So that's the lowest point. So then just connecting the values, we'd get this graph right here. So this is now the graph of y is equal to a sine of bx minus c plus d, where c is equal to 0 and d is equal to 0 because it starts at 0. It starts at 0, 0. So basically, it's just y is equal to a sine of bx. So for example, if we were given y is equal to 2 sine of um, 2 sine of y is equal to 2 sine of 4x. I know, let's have 2 sine of pi x. Okay, so y is equal to 2 sine of pi x minus 2 plus c, plus d. So let's say d is just equal to 0. So we'd have y is equal to 2 sine pi x minus 2. So let's have that as our example. So again, our amplitude is equal to 2. Our period is equal to 2 pi over b. Or in this case, b is equal to pi. So 2 pi over pi. So period is just equal to 2. And our c is the horizontal shift, and that is 2. So since it's positive, so that indicates we start at positive 2. And since d is equal to 0, so there's no vertical shift. This is the horizontal shift, and this is the vertical shift. Okay. And then since our values, notice the values we have is for the amplitude, that's 2, for the period, that's 2, for the c, that's 2. So we can make use of units multiples of 1. So let's just write down, this is the 0 point. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then we could have negative 1 right here. This is positive 1 right here. And this is negative 1. So from there, plotting the point, we start at horizontal shift. So first, plot the horizontal shift. So the horizontal shift is 2, right? So we start here at 2. And then, what's the period? The period is just also 2. So what we're going to do is we count from the horizontal shift, and add the period. So, bale, we have the horizontal shift as 2. We add 2 to that, which is the period. So we should end up here at 4. So this indicates, this right here, this range right here is a full cycle of our graph. So we start at 2, we end at 4, because the period indicates that the distance between the initial and the final points of a full cycle is 2. So here, the midpoint is 3, as we can see in the graph. So to indicate um, where we go first, whether we go up or we go down, whether we have a maximum or a minimum first, whether it's here or it's here, we need to identify A. So that A is already identified, which is 2. So since it's 2, amplitude is 2, so we should have 2 here. The height from the midline, okay, height from the midline is this one right here, since there's no vertical shift. Vertical shift is just 0. So midline plus 2. So adding 2 to that, we would have it right here. And since it's positive, we start here. We start with the maximum. We go up first because it's positive. Okay? And then, so notice that I placed it here between the midpoint of your cycle and the initial one. So this is just the midpoint of these 2 points. And then since we went up already, we need to go down here. So amplitude, the distance from the midline, so from this midpoint 3, we go down to this point right here. Midpoint between 3 and 4 is this point right here, or 3.5. When we estimate that, 3.5, negative 2. So this point right here. And now we just connect these dots. We'd have this graph then. Okay. So that is how our graph, one cycle of our graph will look like. But if you repeat that for the other, uh, if you repeat the cycle, you'll have something looking like this. Okay, but the first one we graphed, just a sketch for graph. The red one is just a sketch for one cycle. Okay, so that's how we graph y is equal to 2 sine of pi x minus 2.